Something has just happened that nobody in the mainstream media is prepared to talk about openly. On this day, the 30th of April 2026, a sitting African head of state has publicly praised a man that two governments are actively trying to silence, and in doing so, he has reframed one of the most sensitive political detention cases on this continent in a way that cannot be walked back. Today, we are going to break this down carefully and completely. We are going to tell you exactly what was said, why it was said, and why the governments most affected by it have gone very, very quiet. Stay with us.
I deeply admire the boldness of Simon Ekpa in demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu. At a time when fear silences many, he stood firm and spoke truth to power. He dared to confront the Nigerian government, proving that courage is not the absence of fear. Lit is the will to rise above it. Simon Ekpa's voice has become the heartbeat of those who refuse to surrender to oppression. He speaks not for himself, but for justice, and history will remember his courage long after the noise fades.
This is one of those stories that looks small on the surface and enormous the moment you understand what is underneath it. The man at the center of this development is Ibrahim Traoré. If you are new to this channel and unfamiliar with that name, here is what you need to know. Traoré is the president of Burkina Faso. He came to power through a military transition in 2022, and since then, he has done something almost no African leader in recent memory has dared to do consistently and publicly. He has said out loud what many Africans whisper privately. He expelled French military forces. He sent Western ambassadors packing. He stood before international bodies and told them without apology that Africa's problems are not African in origin. They are manufactured by the same external powers that claim to be solving them. Like him or not, his words carry weight. Across the Sahel, across parts of West and Central Africa, Ibrahim Traoré has become the voice that certain governments desperately wish would stop speaking. He has not stopped, and this week, he has gone further than ever before. According to information emerging from sources connected to the Pan-African political movement aligned with Traoré's administration, the Burkina leader has reportedly praised Simon Ekpa, the Finnish-based Biafra activist, specifically for his sustained international campaign demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Let us be clear about what that means, because it is easy to miss the weight of it if you hear it too quickly. Simon Ekpa is not a figure that governments are comfortable with. He is currently facing criminal prosecution in Finland, where authorities have charged him in connection with broadcasts they allege incited violence in Nigeria's southeast. The Nigerian federal government has publicly condemned him. Many prominent Igbo community leaders have distanced themselves from him. He is polarizing in every direction you look. And yet Ibrahim Traoré, a sitting president, has spoken his name positively, in public, on the record. Traoré reportedly framed Ekpa's campaign not as the activism of a controversial agitator, but as a reflection of what he called the broader African resistance against the neo-colonial imprisonment of voices that challenge Western-backed power structures. That was his framing, not legal commentary, not diplomatic language, a political declaration. Now, to understand why this is significant, you need to understand what Nnamdi Kanu represents in the context Traoré is describing. Kanu has been in Nigerian federal custody since 2021. The Kenyan High Court has since ruled that the operation that brought him from Nairobi into Nigeria was illegal. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in November 2025. The British Parliament has raised concerns. Human rights organizations across Europe and North America have raised concerns. His legal team is currently before both the Court of Appeal and building a parallel framework for the Supreme Court, armed with recent rulings on jurisdiction and fair hearing that they intend to deploy at the highest judicial level. In Traoré's worldview, that entire sequence of events is not a criminal justice story. It is a colonial story. It is the story of an African voice being permanently removed from the public square because what he was saying threatened arrangements that powerful external actors needed maintained. Whether you agree with that framing or not, the moment a head of state says it out loud, the conversation changes. It is no longer just lawyers in a courtroom. It becomes a geopolitical statement. And geopolitical statements demand geopolitical responses. Nigeria's government has not officially responded to Traoré's reported remarks. The silence is telling, because there is no comfortable answer available to them. To dismiss Traoré publicly is to elevate him further and invite a war of words with a man who has never once backed down from one. To engage his argument seriously is to implicitly acknowledge that the Kanu case has dimensions beyond what their official position admits. So they are quiet, and their silence is its own kind of answer. The real question this development forces onto the table is one that goes beyond Nnamdi Kanu, beyond Simon Ekpa, and even beyond Ibrahim Traoré. It is this: at what point does the political detention of a figure in one African country become the legitimate concern of the rest of the continent? And once that precedent is established, who controls where it ends? That is the question nobody in power wants answered. This is breaking news. We will keep following this. Stay informed, stay alert, and we will see you on the other side of your screens.